Hello and welcome to the AL Central Rundown. I'm Eric.
I'm Lee.
I'm Dan.
And I'm Sam.
I we've all experienced something weird in the last week since the Thursday's deadline. Games are all not secondary, but this was, speaking as a Twins fan, a very interesting franchise-changing deadline. So I don't know how you guys are feeling about your teams, but why don't you talk about that quickly? And then I really kind of want to talk about the Twins and what the hell this means for them. So, how is the deadline for you guys?
Yeah,
Lee, go ahead.
mine is long. Um, the long and short of it is they traded for a bunch of relievers, none of which have an ERA below 4. Which,
Sure.
whatever. We also got Chris Paddock and Charlie Morton, which, if you asked me for 2 starters you'd like to add at the deadline, I would not have said Chris Paddock and Charlie Morton.
They weren't on the short list.
No, they were not on my short list. I mean, I don't hate the trades, right? They're fine trades. Chris Paddock is going to be he's a fine reliever. We got Chris Paddock because Reese Olson is going to be out for the rest of the season, so we needed another starter, and he fits in well with like the Tigers' identity kind of scheme. Like he likes to throw strikes. Tigers like to throw strikes. If it fits. And Charlie Morton, I mean, I don't hate it, but also he's a 41-year-old pitcher, but he has a lot of World Series experience, a lot of playoff experience. He was with AJ Hinch in Houston. It's again, it's whatever. The big, I guess they say the big move we did right is we got Kyle Finnegan from the Nationals. That's like the biggest reliever, our best reliever that we got there. And he's fine. He's a 4.5 ERA. I mean, I think his ERA is inflated because of a couple bad starts and also because the Nationals' infield defense is awful. But okay, I don't have a problem with any of their moves individually. I have a problem with the sum of their parts. Tigers did not do enough at this deadline. I don't think you're going to find a person that says, yeah, the Tigers made a bunch of really good moves. They put themselves in a really good spot. I don't think that's true, right? They took Scott Harris has gotten a lot of criticism for since he started is bargain bin hunting, right? He looked for bargains. He went into the dumpster and he's like, oh, look, a 35-year-old who's injured right now. That's perfect. Add him to the list. I mean, because we got Paul Seward, who's currently on the injured list, and he's going to be injured until at least the beginning of September, right? And we got it's a bunch of reclamation projects or guys who suck. And it's like, well, maybe we can make them better. And we didn't have to give away anything. And it's like, well, maybe they could be good. They could be anything. Maybe they could be good. Who knows? I mean, so like worst case scenario, he's DFA'd in a month and we lost nothing, right? Best case scenario, Rafael Montero is a good swing and miss reliever with playoff experience and he fits in well. But sorry.
I would say more like the $5 DVD bin at Walmart.
Yeah.
Dumpster, you know? Like
Is there even that bin anymore?
I've seen it. All
right.
You go in there, you're like, oh, Kung Fu
Little
Panda
Nicky.
3 for $5? I'll take that.
Yeah, it's like, what year does Scott Harris think it is sometimes? It's not 2019. Like, Rafael Montero used to be a good reliever. He kind of sucks right now.
Right.
He has sucked for the past couple of years. If the Tigers fix him, great. But I don't want to trade at the deadline for guys who, maybe we can fix them. I wanted to trade for someone who's good right now, right?
Well,
and
I do think and I think we'll get into what the Tigers did in a little bit more detail in a bit too. It seems like the Tigers took I think like we can agree that relievers are more combustible than almost every other market. And logically, you don't want to invest big in relievers by and large, with like some exceptions. I feel like the Tigers took a logical direction at maybe the wrong time emotionally. And that could end up being because like they bought low on candidates like Lee is saying, but you want upside to me, I think, if you're the Tigers. Is that kind of what you're saying, or no?
Yeah, like it's a lot of low risk with potential for high reward. But you know, I mean, Rafael Montero has like a 5 ERA. He's not adding anything right now. It's you have to fix it, right? Like I mean, like Charlie Morton is fine because he's been good since the end of May. Like I didn't realize that he's actually been good for a while. He just started off really bad, and that Kyle Finnegan is a guy he's a good piece to get right there. He should not be the headliner of the Tigers deadline, right? I think if I had to get a thesis statement, it would be I wanted proof that the front office was serious about winning. I did not get that proof. Yes, this team got better. I do not think they improved their odds of winning the World Series. If that
That's
makes
fair.
sense. Because every other team got so much better. I don't think we matched that.
Lies. You can get better at this deadline. Blasphemy.
Well, every other competitive team who is trying to win. But at the end of the day, these are all guys. F it, we ball. Whatever. I mean, so, yeah.
Well,
I'm not happy about it. I have a lot of thoughts we could get into, and there's a lot of details that we can dig into if we wanted to. But I guess just to start off, they didn't do enough. They took a lot of low risk.
right.
Yeah.
1,000-foot view. You're unimpressed.
Yes.
Yeah. Sam, the Royals they're the wild card to me. They will buy when you don't expect them to, and like they just, which I admire. Like I genuinely like they believe in who they have, and they're going to add to it.
Yeah, and I think there's reason to believe in what the team has right now. I think that I was not able to give my full thoughts during our last trade
That's right. We did
deadline
stream.
episode. I was out. The new elementary school in Columbia caught fire, so that's what I was doing. It wasn't
bury
like
the lead on that one. Jeez.
the like one of the air condition. It's not open yet. It's
Okay.
being built, but like one of the AC units on the roof caught fire, and it was the whole thing. It wasn't. It was breaking news. But anyway, pretty good about what the Royals did this trade deadline. I think there's good reason to be optimistic about the pieces that they have. I think that they will hopefully be able to make some more moves in the offseason, but this is an indication to me, and we can go more in depth in a moment here. This is an indication to me that the organization is serious about winning this season, but also even more serious about winning in 2026, 2027, and beyond. And it's not just the moves that they made at the trade deadline. It was also re-signing or extending Seth Lugo, holding on to some guys, veteran guys like India and Estevez. So some moves that are going to raise the floor for this year, and some moves that are going to hopefully be longer term plays for the next couple years.
Yeah, that's fair. Dan?
Guardians deadline was one where they didn't necessarily make any huge sweeping move, either to the positive or negative, buying or selling. At the same time, somehow it was an emotional roller coaster. And we'll get into the details of how that can be the case without any actual actionable trade being made, other than they did trade Shane Bieber. We will talk about that too, but I'm talking about some of the headlining choices they could have made. Anyway, uh, while the other teams in our division seem to have a plan to maneuver in a certain direction and execute upon that, um, most notably, we'll talk about Minnesota yet and Kansas City. They seem to have very specific plans and try to fulfill those. The Guardians seem to make their decisions individually within a vacuum, and so that led to some interesting decisions being made. both to the negative and positive, and we can get into those a little bit here in a few minutes. But really, it comes down to evaluating each of those themselves.
Yeah. Oh, let's just talk about the Twins because a couple weeks ago, I said, "Give me a direction you think this franchise is going. Pick a lane," is I think what the phrase I said, and they picked that lane directly into oncoming traffic. So I guess I be careful what you ask for because, and keep in mind these just happened. Emotions are a little high in Minnesota for some reason. Let's just look that the Twins sold 38% of their active roster in about 5 hours, and that includes 5 of their 8 bullpen arms. Complete overhaul. We asked for a lane, they went all in. So this is the ins and outs.
I would
I'm
like
just gonna,
everyone to know it took me 45 minutes to put this together. Just
yeah.
so you know. It took me
By
a
the
very long time.
way, by the way, I just want to say how wrong we were by setting the over under on the number of players the Twins would sell at 4.5,
Oh yeah.
and me and Dan taking the under.
Oh
Yep.
yeah, I said I didn't think they
Well,
would
they
trade more
doubled
than
it.
3. I was way off on that. I think they traded more than 3 by 10 a.m.
I
The
was
only
still
addi-
wrong. I was still wrong. My initial over under was 5.5, and
Yep.
they didn't double it, but they damn near did.
Just wanted to
Yeah.
mention real quick, Lee, if it took you 45 minutes, I kind of wonder they must have had the Twins graphic designer on overtime this week to come up
Oh
with all those
yeah.
Oh
fantastic
yeah.
thank you and trade alert graphics there. I can't imagine.
I
Because
Did
wonder
they
if they
prep all these
pre-made some of
beforehand?
those.
Did they
That's a
like, all
great
I
right,
question.
would like to think that template was made, and then you just gotta, yeah. I mean, I'm sure it was a
Yeah.
real
grab a
easy
I
couple
love
edit. I think they had to
pictures,
scramble
paste
the
it
Correa
on?
one.
I just love the
All right.
idea of like pre-made in a file somewhere on somebody's computer in the Twins office. They just have pre-made thank yous for every player.
I
Can't
think it
imagine.
was I think it was Yahoo Sports. I think it was at the end of the calendar year before the New Year's. They were like, "These are all of our graphics that we didn't get to use," and it was stuff like, Guardians advanced to the World Series. All the other sports
Yep.
ones are like, if the alternate thing had happened, did they just have all of the Twins roster on prep for these just in case? Sorry, I didn't mean to like
They must have.
call you out specifically, Dan. It was just the first thing I thought of that happened in the year 2024. I couldn't think of anything else. I'm not tuned into hockey or basketball, and I couldn't remember football for because it rolls over to calendar. But
Yeah.
sorry, anyway.
Did they have one for the Lions making the Super Bowl?
Well, that would have been 2025, not 2024. Oh, that would have been 2024. Yeah, they probably did. I didn't remember it. I must have like intentionally blocked it out of my brain. It just made me sad.
So going with just with this list, 5 of these guys are rentals that I really don't have an issue with anything because like Willie Castro, okay, that he got 2 AA arms. One that was on the Cubs top 20. Harrison Bader, same thing. They got a decent prospect. Henry Mendez, their number 8 prospect. I think he's around the 15th, 16th for the Twins. And then you have like Paddock, who just got really a wild card with Enrique Jimenez. And then they salary dumped poor Randy Dobnik, who's actually played in Detroit Independent League or Michigan Independent League or something like that. The rest, it's almost, I think the comparison being used in Minnesota is you traded $1 for 90 cents, and it doesn't look like you needed to. The one that, I mean, I'll just start with Brock Stewart for James Outman. James Outman had 2 years ago would have been a hell of a find. Brock Stewart is an oft injured 33-year-old reliever. I'm not going to tell you his value was great, but you essentially got a 28-year-old Harrison Bader clone for, I don't know, at least a 7th, 8th inning guy for the next 2 years. Fine. I don't know. That kind of baffled me. If it would have been James Outman plus B-level prospect, I think that's a perfectly acceptable return. They just didn't get it. The Griffin Jacks trade was really like the what's going on here. You have 2 years of Griffin Jacks, who is arguably, if not top 10, top 5 reliever in baseball. You trade him to the Rays for a prospect who was a former top 100 prospect, Taj Bradley, who has struggled in about 250 innings in the majors. Struggled, I mean, has not been as impressive in the majors. 24 years old, still has time to turn it around. If you would have made this trade last year, I think this is where the narrative would have changed a little bit. I think the Twins have been, oh, look what, they turned a failed starting, now elite closer for the future of Taj Bradley. They didn't need to trade Griffin Jacks if this was the return. Taj Bradley can be great. I have no doubt that they like him, but I would have liked Taj Bradley plus B-level prospect. And now, okay, I'm going to stop sharing screen. Carlos Correa is, I get why they would want out of that contract. They owed him $105 million for the next 3 years. That contract, because Correa has been off at plantar fasciitis, whatever, he has not lived up to that contract. However, there is really no one who can even live up to Correa's perceived ceiling at this point. Like, he's the best shortstop in the organization, is what I'm saying. Brooks Lee will play shortstop, and Brooks Lee might have a 10-year career, but is he going to be the potential of Carlos Correa? Probably not. They traded $77 million to they to not pay Carlos Correa 105, they're going to pay him $33 million. And to appear that you didn't just purely sell off a player for cash considerations, they get Matt Mikulski, who, and one, I kind of feel bad for this dude, because for the next 20 years, he is going to be the butt of a joke that he had no fault of. He is a 26-year-old independent league signing from 2 months ago who has been pitching in high A. This dude will not make the majors, but he will forever be linked to Carlos Correa in a sellback.
You could always spin it as a positive way of he can say that he was traded for Carlos Correa straight up.
See, that's how I would view it. If I was him, I would try, like, 10 years from now, because this is going to hurt for a while, but like 10 years from now, Twins do something like Twins Fest, where it's just like a fan convention. If I was Matt Mikulski, 10 years from now, I would make a pseudo, like, haha, like, remember when they did this stupid thing for me, like, kind of career, and then sign autographs. That can be fun 10 years from now.
You just got to lean into it, yeah.
But you just turned, I don't know, it's a complete sell-off. I guess where the Correa going away signals a couple other things, other than you just don't think you're going to compete. One, you have signed your 2 biggest free agents that you have ever signed have been traded halfway through their contracts. They signed Josh Donaldson in 2020. They signed Josh Donaldson in 2020, and they traded him 2 years later to the Yankees because that looked like it was going south. And now they're doing the same thing to Carlos Correa. If you're a free agent, Minnesota might not be the place you might want to go. Now, Correa did waive his no-trade clause. That's fine. Like, he had control. He could have stayed in Minnesota if he absolutely wanted to. But, like, when they're in the middle of this type of sale, what incentive is there to stay in Minnesota?
There was a quote from some player, anonymous player, that's like, everyone wants to jump off the sinking ship or something like that.
Well, now nobody wants to be here is what I think the Athletic quoted a random player. Which, again, if I was to bet, it would be Joe Ryan or Royce Lewis Are those it was one of the players that said it. So anyway, the $77 million not paying him, that's fine because it looked like that contract was going to go underwater. My question is, what happens to that money now that the Twins do not need to pay it? Is that going to be reinvested? That's essentially $23 million a year for the next 3 years. Is that going to get put back into the team? Is
Theoretically, with
confident?
new ownership, not with the Polads.
You got to get that new owner, though. Now, there is like a small rumbling, and I'm kind of over the update, non-update with the Twins owner. Because until like somebody says that's the dude, it's all smoke and mirrors. That $77 million is now probably just gone. They cleared this payroll from a projected $140 million with arbitration to now there's only now 2 contracts guaranteed money next year. Buxton for $15 million and Pablo Lopez with $21 million. That's about $36 million guaranteed. The payroll with minimum salaries is around $55 million. It's $140 this year. How confident are we that they're going to get back to $140 million? Probably not. So now this team is just worse for the next 2 years. But don't worry, because we got back post-hype prospects that have struggled in the majors, and we're going to compete in 2026. Bullshit. Now, it is rumored, and it's pure rumor, that ownership maybe encouraged some of these moves. So they didn't need, because a lot of these guys are arbitration eligible, obviously, or they're just whatever. If that's true, and there's no way that we're ever going to know it, that is a pathetically new level for this ownership group. You have, so the one I think people are really going to stick on, I'm going to move off to the Correa because this goes into the larger point. Louis Varland has 5 years of team control, and you traded him for Kendry Rojas, who seems like he's in AAA. He seems like a good, solid left-handed pitcher. He could be a good, and I can believe in this front office to develop starting pitching. They traded him for that, and then Alan Roden. And all due respect to Alan Roden, he was never that highly thought of a prospect, and he has struggled in the majors. But right now he's the only one from this list who is on the major league roster, who is now suddenly the mascot for what looks like an utter disaster of a fire sale with the immediate like emotion reaction to it. I'm not going to tell you Alan Roden should care that the fan base is going to view him as like a mascot for this, but what a crappy situation to walk into a new clubhouse when something outside of your control you are now the face of. All of these have the ability to turn around, and these might be great moves 5 years from now, in which case I will shut the F up. But it looks like you not only tried to like fire sell, you just tried to burn the house down without really thinking of the future. And if that's true with new ownership, this front office did not work in the best for the franchise. They worked what is best for their jobs. And if that's what they did, and they even admitted in a press conference that they were going after near major league ready players, and they could have gotten younger, more upside players, but they chose not to do that in the hopes of competing for 2026 and 2027. And the list that you're looking at right now, I have real skepticism if that's going to be it.
I think if you're going to do that much of a fire sale, I think the idea of trying to compete in 2026 is delusional. That's not going to happen. You sell off, what was it, 38% of your major league roster. You're not going to be competitive next year. You might not be competitive 2 years from now. No. I think that that idea, that the spin. Yeah, that's the word I was thinking of. That spin is delusional, or they're delusional, or they think their fan base is stupid. Like, That's ridiculous. I mean, they're not going to be competitive. Does anybody think they're going to be competitive in 2026 with that roster that they're putting out? They brought up 5 play. What? Not 5. I don't know why I said 5. 8 players from the minors up into the majors in one day.
Yeah.
That's not a team that's going to be anywhere near competitive next year.
No. And I will talk, because we do have to recap the Cleveland-Minnesota series, which is as predictable as the other Cleveland-Minnesota series. And I'll talk about what this roster looks like and what I think this team's like identity can be. Because like that's also like I don't know who's closing games. I don't know who's the setup man. I don't know anything with the bullpen because they just traded everything away. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. But it seems like you're either, if you're going to trade away that many players, at least you can't do 1 foot in, 1 foot out. You can't say you're going to compete and then say we're going to rebuild towards the future. Because it seems like anytime that's a very tight rope to walk. And if you can't do it, both sides are going to fail. In which case now this is just a disaster like it was in 2012, where they were an albatross for 5 years. 90 lost season, 5 consecutive 90 lost seasons. And it looks like they might be headed in that direction.
There are ways where you can do that. The Guardians have done it in the past. I brought up trading Savali for Manzardo a bunch of times now. Like that's a move where you bought and sold at the same time. You were setting yourself up for the next year. The Royals, I've spoken glowingly a couple times. I think what they did is it's not going to knock anybody's socks off. They're not a World Series contender. No offense, Sam, but like that was an opportunity to compete for the playoffs this year and really put themselves in good position for 26. I'm very impressed with what they did.
Yeah.
But to trade 11 players off your team, where my mind goes is you can spin it as, oh, we're competing for 2026. And maybe that's actually code for we needed to get players close to the majors because we traded 11 players off of our team and we need 11. Mm-hmm. Then you look and only one of them is on the roster right now.
Yeah.
Why isn't James Outman on there?
It's not like you guys had a couple of stars being blocked in AAA or anything.
No, because of the offense. And that's... I'll let you guys finish.
You had blocked in AAA. Sorry to talk. I'm just. You had blocked in AAA where guys that came to the majors failed and went back to AAA. Eduardo Julian is a perfect example of that.
Yes.
Why am I watching Austin Miller and Deshaun Kersey play center field instead of James Outman this weekend?
Right.
Eric, is he hurt or?
No, he's starting in St. Paul.
Why?
We traded away a bunch of our pitchers on our major league roster. Let's see who we're gonna call up to start the game today. Jose Urena on his fourth team of the year.
Which we haven't talked about, but in our Discord group, I always he's the guy I like poking fun of because Jose Urena has been god awful for a decade and he keeps getting chances. And wouldn't you know, he's starting today. To the point. Go ahead.
I have a kind of finishing thoughts, but go ahead, Eric.
So I'll wrap it up here because I don't want to drag this on. Clearly, I'm not a fan of what they did, but I also know that they can. It's early, and if they hit on a couple of these guys, great. I will trust this front office to develop a pitching staff. They drafted and developed Louis Varland and Griffin Jacks. They traded for Duran when he was in high A. They got Joe Ryan, and they made him a better pitcher than the Tampa Bay Rays could, which is a hell of an achievement. Who else do we got on this list? Brock Stewart was a minor league signing when he was in the middle of Tommy John surgery rehab. That's a hell of a find. Danny Colom has done very well under them. They can build a pitching staff. I believe in that fully. Their hitters... Their offense development, their hitting development has lacked, if I'm being polite. Royce Lewis has taken a major step back. Matt Wallner has taken a step back this year. Edouard Julien, we just talked about. Austin Martin was a former top 100 prospect. Who else? Jose Miranda has taken a step back. Trevor Larnach has not been as good. The only player who has consistently been good over the last 5 years is Buxton. And he was in the organization before you got there. So why do you trade for all? If your strength is pitching development, you traded in for a lot of. Now you got your best talent available for the trades. Fine, I get that. You ignored the offense except for Alan Roden, who has not looked impressive in the first 2 games. And then you called up again the Austin Martin types and James Outman, who had a really nice year 2 years ago, but strikes out an awful lot and basically looks like Harrison Bader again, like a poor man's Harrison Bader. It's weird to me.
When
It's like,
I see
sorry,
that slide, one of the thing that I was struck with is, I don't know, it's disingenuous to compare ourselves to baseball players, but it really is. Like, I don't know if anyone here has ever worked at a company where you're getting sold
Yeah.
and they're just trying to save money.
Yep.
And this is really what happened to me at my last station, and why I came to Columbia ultimately was, you see some people are getting cut, salaries are getting looked at a little bit more closely, and don't work overtime. That's, we got to be
Yep.
careful with that, and you're not really buying things, and you kind of go, oh, we're getting sold, aren't we?
Yep.
And so when I look at this, it's the Twins. They're just a company that's preparing for a sell.
Yep.
They're preparing for a new owner to take over. And so they want to reduce as much as they can and have as few, loose ends for a new owner
Yep.
to come in. And that's, I think, exactly what it is.
I agree with you 100%, and I'm going to add on some more anger from my side. If that is the case, and it certainly looks like clearing the books so that it looks like this front office might not be in place a year from now because a new owner might want to bring in their own guys. If that's the case, you traded 5 years of Louis Varland, 2 years of Griffin Jacks, 2 years of Joan Duran. You traded players with multiple years of team control for something you probably won't be a part of. That is reckless at best. And considering the return you got for near major league players, you probably just set the franchise back a couple of years. So this new owner, who might be bringing in his own front office, would have maybe preferred to hold on. Because, like, who knows? A new owner might extend Joan Duran. A new owner might extend Griffin Jacks. If this owner doesn't come in before, let's just say, December, Pablo Lopez will not be on this team. Joe Ryan will not be on this team. In which case, you have Byron Buxton and AAA. And that would be a real shame.
Looking at a lot of those trades, it seems like they traded away all their pitchers and then went, shit, we don't have any pitchers. Quick, trade for some pitchers. I know, we'll trade our other pitchers for some more pitchers to replace the pitchers that we just traded.
And hey, pitching, you can never have too much pitching, and I get that. And they have a lot. They have pitching depth, which makes me wonder. I wouldn't be surprised if your name isn't Pablo Lopez or Joe Ryan if you don't have a piggyback. Like, it's going to be some guys are going to go 3 innings, some guys are going to go. They're going to use this as an experiment the rest of the year. I don't know that, but that's the only way I'm kind of making sense in my head. Some of these guys are just going to go in the bullpen, in which case you're replacing a bullpen arm. So I get that logic, but it's just like, God, you really could have gotten a lot of value out of relievers. And I just feel like you took a half step back to get maybe some role players, solid regulars for now. It's weird to me. It's a missed opportunity to me, but we'll see. Go ahead.
Either the return had to be better, or that 70 million the Twins are saving needs to go back into the team. And I don't think either of those things are occurring. So It's not pretty.
No, it's not. And I will be the first one to, if Alan Roden, and I hope Alan Roden just like turns it around. They have the magic sauce and they can get these guys going. That would be phenomenal. In which case, I'll come back in December and be like, you know what? I'm wrong. They're doing well. They might actually compete, but it's gonna. A lot of things need to go right. Okay, I'm done. Let's talk about the Tigers.
So just to I had a lot of thoughts. My live reaction was not exactly favorable. And then I left the live stream and went to work where I spent my time sitting in the back on my phone or driving, which left me with a lot of time to think. And last night slash this morning, because I didn't go to sleep, I wrote 2 pages of bullet point notes on a bunch of stuff. I don't know where to start, where to go. I read Scott Harris's press conference. I was very interested to see what he had to say. There's a lot of notes from that. I could talk about just the players in general, the specific ones. We traded away Matt Manning, which is whatever. He was DFA'd. He kind of stunk in AAA. Never figured it out. Which makes the longest tenured Tiger now in the organization Wenzel Perez. That's just a fun note. Yeah, because he was an international signee at 16. So, yeah, Matt
I didn't
Manning
realize
is.
Matt Manning was that far ago. Like, that makes
Yeah, it's
sense now that you say it.
2016.
But I was like, God, they just drafted him, didn't they? Nope, that was probably 2017.
Yeah, it was like 20. Yeah, it was a while ago. So it was that. So Charlie Morton, I did not like this initially, but I apparently don't know ball because since the end of May he has been 7-for-1 with a 3.76 ERA and a 3.92 FIP. So he's been good since the Orioles moved into the bullpen and then moved him back into the rotation. He's been good. So I do not hate this move. It's a fine move. I mean, he's 41. So
Not like, because I think on our live stream, I don't know if this was like in the moment, because I think when it first came in, I think you were a little disappointed in the move, and Dan and I were like, wait a minute, like, and we looked at the stats and turned out the stats for his overall stats had not looked good, but there is something about Charlie Morton, a 41-year-old who still throws like 95, 96, has good off speed, that I was like, this is not the best move.
He'll still go 6-7 innings every
Yeah,
time. It's not like he's only. So yeah, I don't hate it. I was just really frustrated because
right.
the biggest criticism for Scott Harris is, one, he doesn't take risks. 2, bargain bin reclamation projects. He'll get, like, look at a lot of his free agent signings. 35-year-old Kenta Maeda, right? A lot of these trades, it's like old washed guys. It's like you can, unfavorably characterize them as. So I was really frustrated when the starter we traded for was 41-year-old Charlie Morton, who, for just an example of, I put in my Discord with my friend, I said, we got Charlie Morton, and my friend Ian goes, I thought he retired. So, yeah. But this is actually a good move. We need more starters, at least just to get through the rest of the season. He has one of the things this team is missing is they are a young team, they lack experience, and they lack playoff experience. Charlie Morton is old, but with that comes experience. He has 3 World Series appearances, 6 playoffs total. He was in Houston with the AJ Hinch, so he's already familiar with him. So all in all, I like that move. I like that move. Feel free to interrupt me at any point, by the way. I don't want to just monologue here. Rafael Montero, so the beat writer for the Detroit Free Press wrote an article on this trade, and he titled it "The Worst Relief Pitcher from 2023 to 2025." And yeah, he's kind of right. I don't get this trade, but we didn't give up anything. We gave up Jim Jarvis, who I only know because I look at the Erie lineups all the time, and his name is Jim Jarvis.
It's a fun name.
Yeah. So worst case scenario, he's a veteran who sits in the bullpen. We DFA him in a month, and he sucks. Whatever. Best case scenario, they saw something in his underlying mechanics that they can fix, and he can be a good swing and miss guy if he doesn't just completely suck. And he has a World Series appearance. So again, he's old, but that comes with experience. Our bullpen is very,
This is, you might not be able to answer this correctly, but so maybe this is to the larger group too. Is the perception, because to me, Atlanta is good at pitching development. Do you feel the Tigers are on that same like, it's probably the real answer is it's probably too early, but like, do you believe that the Tigers would see something that the Braves didn't? Because I always think of like Jesse Chavez, that the Braves were the only team that could make him good.
I don't know how I know Guardians are always very good. I know Chris Fetter, the pitching coach for the Tigers, is very good at his job.
Okay.
He is. I trust him. I guess the idea is that's why I'm not as down on a lot of these trades as I could be, is because okay, if they see something they think they can fix, he's done it before, he can do it again. Like, I mean, Jack Flaherty is an example. He's not been as good as this year, but like last year, he was really good, and he was not expected to be that good. A lot of the AAA relievers that we pulled out from Toledo and brought up to Detroit were a lot better in Detroit because Chris Fetter could be able to do something with them. He has built a reputation with it, for the Tigers fan base, to the point where we go, yeah, maybe Chris Fetter can fix him.
Okay.
So
No,
I don't know how he compares to the Braves. I don't really know enough about.
Well, the Braves and then the Astros. It's like, but that's part of me. Like, one, for what they gave up for him, this is well worth trying it. But like the Astros gave up on you, they're pretty, or at least they used to be, pretty sabermetrically inclined, I guess if you want. Metrics heavy. The Braves, I feel, are the same way. And then the Tigers, I just don't know enough about. So it'll be interesting. It's very low risk.
Yeah.
The other possibility with that too, just to jump in on that real quick, different orgs can have different strengths within their pitching development. Whatever Atlanta was doing, whatever Houston was doing, maybe they thought they had the secret, to unlocking somebody. Detroit might be doing something entirely different, whether it's being better at teaching them how to spin it or whatever the case may be. So it might just be, well, we know that we do differently than Atlanta. Let's try our stuff with Montero.
Well, and half the time now, it could just be a pick match solution. Like now they're just going to throw your change up 5% more, and now he's going to be lights out again. Like it doesn't have to be a huge move.
That was something that was brought up for Kyle Finnegan, is because I don't know the exact numbers because I don't have the memory. I don't have the type of memory, but it was basically, I mean, it's one appearance, but he had a four at bat appearance yesterday for us. He got his first save and already noticed the pitch mix was different. Maybe that's just because he was facing the Phillies, who have owned him for his entire career, or maybe the Tigers are doing something differently with him.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's another possibility. But that's kind of that's my thing on Montero. He could be good if the Tigers can fix him. If not, it's a low risk move. That's whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm kind of really jumping around in terms of order, but a lot of these I don't necessarily have a lot to comment on. Chris Paddock. We traded for Chris Paddock pretty much immediately after we knew that Reese Olson is going to be out for this season. I like this move. Right? And we also got Randy Dobnak, who's just a fun local story and is AAA depth. Possibly could come up if we have more injuries, whatever. So Chris Paddock, he likes to throw in the strike zone. Tigers like to throw in the strike zone. I think it's a good fit in terms for that, at least.
And I'll say with Paddock, I'm not going to tell you I'm a big Chris Paddock fan. I don't. I think he's going to look good for 3 starts. He's going to look awful for 3 starts, and then he's going to be meh for the next 4 if it's 10 starts. I think what you're about to talk is what you might get into. I do kind of like him in the bullpen though.
I think he'll probably end up moving to the bullpen. I don't know. Probably not until the postseason because he can eat innings for now. I don't think he's going to be the guy to start a postseason game. But right now we need our starters to go 6-7 innings because our bullpen has been bad lately, and it's also been overused because we've had a lot of starters injuries. So at least I'm guessing for the next month and a half he's going to be a starter, and then move to the bullpen later.
No, I agree with that. I think in September, yes, that's when that's when things will get weird for the Tigers.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see how much Hinch uses the bullpen chaos strategy, if he doesn't break that out until the postseason, or he just keeps that in his back pocket just to keep other managers guessing, type thing. That's all the comments I have on specific players. I don't know if you want to hear more about the press conference or just okay. Here's one note. Yeah. Collectively, only 0.4 BWAR was added to this roster.
Sure.
But I meant what I said. I think this team got better. I don't think they increased their odds to win the World Series.
Yeah.
Is what I'd say.
I think we talked about it. Go ahead.
I was just going to make a quick joke. My favorite thing about that slide that you had up there is that the term cash considerations is on that slide 3 times.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't. Does anyone? Okay. So what is cash considerations? Is it always like a fixed amount, or is it
No.
like?
Negotiate.
Is it?
Yeah,
It's
they
like
just
here's
they
$40,000. Like how much? I don't
Right.
know what amount.
And I
no,
think-
it's just any amount of money. So
Okay.
essentially, they're just saying here's X amount of dollars. They're just buying the player.
Hey,
Essentially, it
Cleveland,
could be
we want Paul Seward. We'll give you $50.
a lot of, so like if you see that,
Yeah.
especially like if it's a waiver wire, a lot of the times like there's a going rate of $10,000 that they send back over, and that's just so you can jump the waiver wire and like that's your cash. I think a lot of these I wouldn't like Paul Sewald. I'm gonna guess it might have been like a here's your prorated salary for the rest of the year type thing.
Yeah. He's
It's
also
usually
injured right now. And,
either
yeah.
the full salary or a cut of the like we'll pay for
Yeah.
a month of Seawald salary if you give them to us, like that kind of thing.
Yeah,
That, I just made
Sewald
that
is-
up. I'm not reporting that, but that's the
Yeah.
basic.
One time a
premise.
Royal got traded for cash considerations, and this is one of my favorite articles of all time. Is someone just posted an article to Royals Review that the headline was "Money can be exchanged for goods and services."
Yes.
one bit that we like to do. So I put the Welcome to Detroit meme on there. So one bit we like to do for any of the Detroit for major sports is every time there's a trade, a draft, or a signing, we do the "Hey man, welcome to Detroit." We put that meme in all the time. But what we'll also do is whenever we trade a player for cash considerations, we'll go, "Hey, hey, cash considerations, welcome to Detroit." It doesn't make sense, but it's funny. So.
Do you? I feel like with Seawold, I don't know about Hewer, Finnegan,
about Hero,
all of
I
that.
didn't look
I
him up.
feel like they just picked. Give me 5 guys, and I want them to throw 20 good innings. One of them has to throw 20 good innings in the next 2 months, and that's
Okay.
literally all they were trying to do.
So this is part of what Scott Harris said. Is he said explicitly he thought volume was the best approach, and because he said the bullpen it sums up as bullpen has multiple issues. Fix the multiple issues with multiple relievers. And I think that's a really good point. I think that's really interesting. You can't fix a multiple problem with one reliever. You have to get multiple relievers. So I thought that was interesting. Yeah, I wrote a whole summary on the press conference because people were not happy with Scott Harris because we wanted.
I will.
Yeah.
So while you're going to that press, my pushback for Scott Harris on yes, you can't fix your bullpen with one reliever, but you can do both. You can collect the 5 guys, hoping one does well, and then also get yourself a prize horse. You can do both.
Or collect 3, and
Yes.
you're not going to need if one of your 5 or one of your 4 in that case is a sure thing or as close to a sure thing as you can get. Well, then you can get 3 instead of 5.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I don't disagree with you guys. I'm just presenting the different arguments here. So this is kind of the most important things I thought from the press conference. The standard blah blah blah. We believe in our guys, etc. etc. He said we don't need a right-handed bat. The team has been very good against left-handed pitchers all season. This is true because I think the fan base wants a left-handed bat because Valenti on 97.1 has been saying we need a right-handed bat for the past 8 months. So I think he's right about that. Organization has a good farm system, blah, blah, blah. One interesting thing he said that some of those players will be here in September. So there are going to be prospect call-ups in September, apparently. People think it's Kevin McGonigal. Unlikely. More likely it's Hal Yuli.
And you said Horton is already going to the bullpen, right?
Melton. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't know why you keep saying Horton.
I don't either.
Troy Melton. He's
who am I
the.
thinking of?
Are you thinking of Holton? Because Holton's been in the bullpen.
That's maybe what I'm thinking of.
Are you thinking
whoever
of
the
the
AAA
elephant?
pitcher is?
Yeah, because Horton. Here's a who.
That
Yeah.
could be it too.
But yeah, Troy Melton. He's the starter we just called up, but he's been moved to the bullpen already.
Sure.
Yeah. So it's interesting that he said some of them will be here in September. He said, okay, in recent deadlines, the flashiest moves fails to impact the team as much as you would have liked and are not always the most effective. He felt that the market was thin and the prices for short-term rental relievers were very high. Uh, I said the volume is the best approach. He doesn't believe in a window, like a Tarek Skubal window. The goal is to ensure the team can make the postseason for many years. Notably, he did not say the words, "We want to win a championship," which a lot of people are, I don't know how much stock you put into that, but
I think that's
that is,
implied.
Yeah.
I think that's implied too. But a lot of the fan base just wants to hear the words, "We want to win a championship."
Right.
And when he doesn't say that,
I think, like, to me, hearing that, that's the type of quote that you can pull whatever narrative you want to pull out of, and you can make it work. So if you want to hear the word championship and you didn't, you can be mad. If you just want to hear they want to compete, I don't know. Like, I feel you can twist that around in a couple different ways. But
yeah, it's just, I mean, the goal is to ensure the team can make the postseason for many years. Yeah, okay. But I don't want to be like the Brewers who win a weak division every year and then fail in the wild card series. Or like, different sport, but like the Steelers go 9-8 and then fail in the wild card every year. Or whatever. But like, I also don't want to be the 2025 Orioles who had a bunch of prospects, didn't do anything with them, and now suck. But I don't want to be the 2015 Tigers who traded away all their prospects for stars. The stars grew old, and we didn't get any rings out of it. So we didn't get any World Series wins out of it. So, it's kind of
Sure.
yeah. I'm talking
It just
a
seems
lot.
to me like the divisional positioning that the Tigers find themselves in is coloring their decision making here. Oh, well, we're 9 games up. We're probably going
That's
to
what he
coast
said
be able
too.
to we're going to be able to coast this thing in the next 2 months, and that means we're going to be able to use some portion of this next 2 months to figure out which of these 10 relief pitchers between the 5 we added on and the 3 we're going to bring up for the minors and the 5 we have, like, we're going to figure out which of those we're going to
Oh, a
use the
bunch of
season
guys
to
are
figure
coming
that
back
out.
with injury, and then those will fix all of our problems.
I just think we're going to use this time not to try to win 105 games, which, hey, that's fine. I'm not
Yeah.
necessarily saying that's a bad thing, but it seems like they're going to try to use this time to figure out this poo poo platter of options they have, and which 7 or 8 are going to be the ones to use in October.
Yeah,
And
I mean, sorry.
that's fine. And I feel a little bit better about it than I did Thursday when I was kind of egging you on and was not happy about the direction the Tigers went. But I still, like, you're in the driver's seat here. You could have made one move to really up your chances,
Yep.
and that didn't happen. Instead, we're doing it with, oh, well, let's kind of cobble it together and see. And you didn't have to necessarily do that.
Right.
Or at
That's
least you
the
could have
thing.
made it easier on yourself by adding one.
Yeah, and maybe 3 months from now we'll look at this and they go, Scott Harris is a genius. We won
It
a
could
World
work.
Series
Yeah.
and we didn't have to give anything up. Like, it could work. But we could also fail in the wild card round and we won't be able to point to any move and say this organization was trying.
It could work. I just think it has a lower percentage chance of working than if they had traded for David Bednar or
Yes.
Yeah,
something to that
that's
effect.
the thing. Also, related to that point, apparently the Pirates wanted Jose Briseño for Bednar 1-for-1. Take with that as you will. The Tigers did not want to do that.
So Briseño is a first baseman and a catcher, correct?
Yeah, he's listed first baseman catcher. I think they're just playing him as first base so he can get batting reps in without wearing him down
So
at
you
catcher.
have Dingler, who's young, and you have Torque, that is young. How is Briseño not expendable? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm not, I don't know.
And he just got to Double-A, correct?
Yeah, just got to Double-A a couple weeks ago.
And
Yeah.
But you trust your players, but you're not willing to. I'm getting angry now. I'm going to stop. Sorry.
right.
Yeah, he said one thing on that is that he views every trade like a bet. And if you trade for a player, you're betting on the player you're trading for. But if you don't make a trade, you're betting on the player already in your organization. It's something there.
And that's true. But you're also, the Twins just sat on their hands for 2 years and they didn't bring more talent in. And now look at the position they're in. And like, the Tigers are certainly not in that category, But if you're not willing, not all your yes, we all love our prospects. If you're not going to be able to use them when you need to make the major league team better today, there's no guarantee that a prospect is going to pan out. If you can get a not elite, I think calling David Bednar elite might be a bit of a stretch,
Not
but
quite.
really good, like really clearly your best option going into what will be your new best option. I think that's worth the risk for a 1-for-1 prospect when you have a year and a half of him. But that's just me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess for me personally is I'm too afraid of. First of all, I'm just not personality. I'm just not a huge risk taker. Also, I don't want to end up in the same position we were 10 years ago, where we traded away all of our prospects, got a bunch of stars, they got us nowhere, and then we were stuck rebuilding for 10 years.
But that's
And
going
then
to be
at the
true
end of it,
for
we had no prospects, we had no stars. What were we gonna do? And then it sucked.
that's
So
yes, but that's true for 90% of clubs anyway during any playoff window. The chances of you winning a World Series is not great regardless of what your roster is. You know, like it's I would prefer to if I can push my ceiling higher, I would tend to do that. Would be my attitude towards it. But yes, you have to get that right. Like what the Twins have to do with what the Tigers are choosing to do with these lower wattage moves. You just have to be right.
Mhm.
yeah,
And if
I
you
mean,
win
yeah,
the World Series, it was the
you're
right
right
move.
regardless.
Yes.
Whatever
Yeah.
happens, you were right. That's the thing. It
Yes.
doesn't
I know what it
matter.
is. Scott Harris got a peek at Dinkler's walk rate too. It was like, nope, we need Briseño.
That's
Gotta
right.
have that guy.
Yeah, and yeah, it's so yeah. There's that. I mean, like I said, at post trade deadline, I think their odds of winning a World Series got worse because all the other teams got better. They improved by so much more. The Tigers did not improve by that much. They got better, yes, but by how much, I don't know.
Sure.
This is a really. I just wanted to. I know I'm going on for a lot, but this was a really interesting point that I saw. So Tigers minor league, I am sounding like an idiot, but I want to make sure I get this right because I'm using them as a source. So one second. Sorry, I am totally blanking. Yeah, at Tiger Minor League Reports, they're a group of fans who have done for the past several years reports on all the Tigers minor league systems. They're very good. Like they are the go-to source for Tigers minor league. If you're like really into that sort of thing, they have that. So on their podcast, this was brought up post trade deadline. I was very emotional because it was like right after the trade deadline ended. But one of the guys brought up the point of over the past 10 years, player development from the Tigers has produced jack and shit. Fans know this. People who write about farm systems know this. Other team executives know this. This kind of the stink of Alavila and Dave Dombrowski's farm system has not worn off. Why would other executives and teams trust our prospects to be able to develop to functional major league players? If
Because
there
you've
is
got
no
a
base
first
to build from.
baseman and a catcher
Yeah.
and a center fielder, all who came through the organization and are performing right
Very,
now. I think
very
that's
recently. I mean,
Yeah.
they're not long term.
Right, but
Harley's
that
been good for 2
person
years,
making that decision was fired 5 years ago, and you're starting to see a
3 years
new
ago.
front office bring in like better play. I don't like I don't
I don't
necessarily
know that I
agree
buy
with what
that.
there's. I can see it because there's
I think
definitely. Go ahead, Lee.
A player
I
who
think
has
it's
talent is a player who has talent at the end of the day.
Right, and
I
like
think it's an
every
interesting point though, and especially okay. So Enrique Jimenez, we just traded to the Twins. He was number 14 in our system. He's 24 in the Twins system right now. The Tigers farm system is rated very heavily. It's very top heavy. You get towards the middle, the bottom of that top 30. Our number 15 is not going to be nearly as good as a lot of other systems number 15, which I think a lot of people were getting into the trap of. Well, the Mariners traded their number 9 or number 8 to the Diamondbacks. Why couldn't we trade our number 8 or number 9?
because not
Maybe
all
it's
8 and number
Have
9
you
prospects or farm systems are created equal. And like,
Yeah.
Have you seen how many top 100 prospects the Mariners have? They have like 9. Like the Mariners farm system is nuts right now.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how much I entirely agree with that, mostly because I don't know how, I'm not that deep into that kind of,
Yeah,
trade and all that. I just thought it was an interesting point to bring up.
right.
The Tigers farm system is not necessarily an established, trustworthy source of good major league players. Like Max
Right.
Clark and Kevin McGonigal, those guys are most likely going to be good major league players. After that, who knows?
Right. I guess like my pushback on that was like, it's not like other major league teams are taking the Tigers' word for it. Like they're also scouting their minor league system constantly. So they're gonna have like the Twins, I guarantee, have a list on a wall somewhere of Tigers farm systems of, hey, I like this guy, and it's gonna be independent of what the actual results of Detroit has done.
Yes, but the idea is the Tigers for a long time would have all these prospects who did very well in the minors, but then would just not have the skills to succeed in the majors. So like they could look good at the on the surface level in the minors, but then when they get to the MLB, they can't, and it's not something you can necessarily read by watching a minor league game. I don't know.
Yeah, it's just talent evaluation, though. Like it's. I mean,
I
every
could just be
team wants.
talking out of my ass here. I don't know. I just thought
Well,
it was an
and
interesting.
it is interesting. I don't know. I just feel like every team is going to work independent. It's not like we can't trust the Tiger. We can't trade for any of the Tigers' minor league prospects because we don't trust their development. Their teams will actually look to, if they think you are not developing well, they will find guys they like and target those guys and take over. And like,
See,
I
that's what the Pirates did. The Pirates took the Yankees, 8th and 10th
Sure.
overall catchers. They wanted our number 4 guy.
Sure.
Like, I mean, I don't know. I think there's maybe a little something to that. Also, the Pirates are not exactly a gold standard for scouting and development, though. Or
You
front
also
office.
have to remember these organizations have a lot of resources, and they aren't using MLB's prospect
No,
rankings.
they're
They
not.
have
Right.
their own. They have their own evaluation. Again, when I was talking about having strengths with pitching and development, they have their own things where he may be overall globally a number 5 prospect elite because of our system. We think he's a number 3. So
I mean, I
that
don't know.
plays a role.
Maybe I'm just talking out of my ass here. Maybe I'm just an idiot. I thought it was an
Well, no, it's not.
interesting concept.
I don't.
It
It
is.
can like it's interesting. It doesn't make you an idiot, but like that prospects are so combustible anyway. Like it's such a crapshoot. Like maybe they just had a bad draft 2 years ago, and that's going to have repercussions. I don't know. I think it's interesting watching like when we're focusing on the division rather than just our teams, how universal those points are. Because the same things are being said in Minnesota. And by the way, talking about the Twins wanting like finding guys that they like and trading for, this deadline is is the example for that. They're taking post type prospects they correctly or not believe they can turn around.
Right.
But anyway,
Yeah, I think that's all I would say. Oh, one minor thing I want to do on, because some people, mostly Ben Verlander, who I think I have to mute on Twitter because he's very annoying lately. He keeps saying he's been saying for the past 8 months, we need to add offense. Outside of the 2-week stretch where they sucked, we really don't need to add offense. The offense is good. It's fine. They are currently 6th in runs per game. From the start of the season to July 8th, they were averaging 5 runs a game. And since the losing streak ended to now, 6 games, they've averaged 7.6 runs per game. They just had the 2-week stretch where they sucked and they couldn't score. So
sure.
I think that because it happened right before the trade deadline, it colored everyone into panicking. We need to add offense again. No, I don't. Our offense has been consistent all season
Yep, I agree with
outside
that.
of those 2 weeks. I just wanted to
Yep.
get that out there because I was getting very annoying.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry for talking so much.
Oh, it's
But
fine.
I had a lot of things I wanted to cover.
All right. Royals, Sam.
Yeah. The Mariners have 8 top 100 prospects, by the way. I just looked
Yeah.
that up, that's pretty insane.
That's a lot.
Yeah. Royals trade deadline. Again, felt pretty good about what they did this this trade deadline. Biggest move was obviously trading away Freddie Fermin. Sad that they got rid of Freddie. He was a fan favorite. He has a pretty good story. He in 2015 signed with the Royals as a 19-year-old to a $10,000 contract. He was not thought of as he was really a non-prospect for most of his career, but the Royals have their top two prospects are catchers. So I think they're setting themselves up for their catcher of the future in this move to get rid of Freddie Fermin. And in exchange for Freddie Fermin, they got two major league level starting pitchers, or two pitchers who are in the major leagues who have starting potential. Bergert, they called up. He's with the team. Kolek got sent to AAA. So that was the biggest move. Other moves they had made earlier, obviously, was getting Adam Frazier, who they traded away Andrew Hoffman, who had a cup of coffee with the team. Getting Adam Frazier back for AAA 28-year-old Bailey Falter, Mike Yastrzemski. Good little pickups for the Royals. At least the pitchers that they got have some team control. And I really thought about what they did and what they gave up and what they got. And you can go to the next slide, Eric, because I wanted to put this into perspective. So they gave up their number 20 prospect, which is, that's an expensive piece. They also gave up a 28-year-old rookie reliever.
Yep.
They gave up a first baseman who's in high A. They gave up.
I took that different. I was like, this better be. Is this Eric Hosmer we're talking about? Who was an A+ prospect? High A.
No.
Got it.
A high A first baseman, 30-year-old backup catcher, a quad A reliever, and a 28-year-old shortstop who was in AAA. In exchange, they got 3 MLB pitchers, MLB level pitchers who can start, who have team control. 2 veteran outfielders. One is a rental. The other one, I can't remember if it's Yastrzemski or Grichuk, but one of them has a mutual option for next year.
Yeah.
And they got a veteran utility player. I would say that was a pretty good return for not a very expensive package. So I feel good about what they did. I think at this point in the season, the Royals are 55 and 56. Say they win. If they win today, they got 50 games left, and they're 500. They would have to probably do what they did last year to make the playoffs, which would be 86 wins, which would require them to go 30 and 20 down the stretch.
Yep.
Is that impossible? No. Am I counting on that happening this year? Also, no.
But it could.
But it's possible. I think they made some good moves to try to stay competitive and try to return to the playoffs this year. But most importantly, to set themselves up for success next season and beyond. And the other thing is the Royals, 3 of the 5 Royals opening day rotation are on the IL. So Cole Reagans, who's had an injury-plagued season, Chris Bubich, who's now shut down for the whole year, and Michael Lorenzen, who will maybe be back within the next week or so. But they have some spots on the roster that they need to fill. And we all know how bad the Royals outfielders have been this year. So shoring
think
up the
that's
roster.
sorry to talk over you. I think that's the key component here. That slide is very telling, but what it leaves out is the opportunity that arises from getting those players too. Not only did you not give up all that much stuff and get upgrades, but that now allows you to not have to play MJ Melendez in the outfield.
Right.
That he didn't necessarily leave the roster. There's now a closer to league average player in his spot that
Yes.
wasn't there before. If you don't
Mhm.
feel great about 45-year-old Rich Hill starting this week, well, guess what? You have the option to not have to do that anymore. Bailey
Yeah.
Falter can take his spot now. It just
Was
feels
it
like you went from having several holes to having several. Well, we're a lot closer to league average now type
Yes.
places, and
Yeah.
not just for 25, but for 26 and
Yeah, for
beyond
what
And
it's
potentially.
Yastrzemski and Grichuk both had an OPS plus of 100. They are both league average
Perfect.
They're perfect
OPS
examples.
plus, which again, it's not going to blow your socks off. But hey, I've got some MJ Melendez content coming up whenever we go into news. So
Well, not for nothing. It is one thing to just be like, is league average offense great? No. But when there was a bowling ball sized hole in the side of the boat, just to have a boat that isn't sinking
just
in a
putting some
certain
duct tape
corner
over it
does
is
a
better
lot,
than having a gaping
Like,
hole.
mhm. they went from having holes to having question marks.
which is a hell of a
So
lot better than
It could
the
be
holes
and
that
like
anything.
are.
granted, you mentioned Rich Hill. Rich Hill came in. He had two okay starts. I mean,
Yeah, he
it
was
wasn't
fine.
anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fine. It was a good stopgap. But you know that he's not going to be able to do that for you
Right.
9 more times, right? So I
Or in
think bringing
2026.
in exactly. I think bringing in those guys who are MLB ready. You're not buying lottery tickets. You're not buying, anything like that. You got MLB ready players who can fill some holes. And at the end of the day, maybe you just say, hey, we'll do what we can this year and we'll live to fight another day.
For what it's worth, Fangraphs currently has Royals playoff odds as at 11.6%.
11. I would give that. I would say that's probably about right. If they go on a run, they go on a run, and that would be fantastic. But it's also to the point now where if the Royals have a bad 2 weeks, or if they go 3-7 in a 10-game stretch, it's probably over.
For what it's worth, that is 11.1% higher than what the Tigers had last season at this time. So, they could do it.
Yeah, yeah. And I won't, I won't. Uh, if the Royals go 81-81 this year, I will be fine. Like most of my life has been spent watching 90 and 100 lost teams. So for the Royals to just have, because in my life, the Royals have either, for the most part, been just awful or they've made the World Series.
Mm-hmm.
Those are kind of the two extremes that I've had in my life as a
And
Royals
let's be
fan.
honest, the World Series was what, 3 years? That was a three
It
year
was
window.
it was a 3-year window, which is great that they made the playoffs twice and went to the World Series twice. We talked about teams like the Brewers who get to the playoffs year after year and just they're not able to do it. But speaking of the World Series, go back to the slides, Eric, and you can go to the next slide. I just wanted to put things into. This is another thing that I wanted to talk about out of trades and what a crapshoot they can be. 2015 at the deadline, the Royals got Johnny Cueto. They also got the World Series in
Yep.
this trade because they don't win the World. They probably don't win the World Series. They also probably don't make the World Series without Johnny Cueto. He pitched a 1-run, 2-hit complete game in the World Series, also pitched I think, 2-run, 8-inning game in the ALDS in a do or die game 5. So that was what the Royals got in that trade. And at the time, people were upset about how much they gave up in exchange for him. They gave up Brandon Finnegan, who had a 1.9 WAR after the trade, Cody Reed, who had -1 WAR, career WAR, out of MLB in 21, and John Lamb, who had a -1.8 WAR and was out of MLB in 2018. So, yeah, it was a lot at the time, but you never know how these things are going to work out. Prospects are lottery tickets.
So
And
just to like put context on that, Brandon Finnegan was the Royals. This is 2015. Their fourth best prospect, 55 overall grade. Who was it? Cody Reed was their 27th best prospect, who was a graded at didn't even have grades. And I don't see Cody Reed on here yet. Oh yes, I do. He's one more. Oh, sorry, Jake Lamb. I don't see. So just for further
John Lamb.
context.
Yeah. So, but again, getting Johnny Cueto, who, by the way, pitched last season in MLB, lest we forget his start at Kauffman Stadium in 2024 with the Angels. Again, they don't win the World Series without that move, and none of those prospects turned out to be what they were touted as. So, yeah, it was a lot to give up at the time, but you won the World Series, and none of those guys panned out.
Can I show you something that's going to make you a little sad? Because I looked at their
Go
pipeline.
for it.
Do you want to see these prospects from 2015? Who else was on that list?
Oh, go for it. Yeah.
I think I know where this is going.
Alberto Mondesi, who was forever the perennial, like, great. Sean Manaeus had a good, decent major league career. Kyle Zimmer did nothing. Finnegan did nothing. Almonte did nothing. Hunter Dozier, he had a good year.
He had a good season. Yep.
Scott Blewett, like, there is, like, no one. Scott
Bubba
Blewett's
Most
Starling.
of these guys
That's
don't
good.
even have a photo associated with them.
It's just like...
Yeah. Yeah.
I like the name Bubba Starling, though. That came out of 1897.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bubba Starling was one of the worst Royals selections of all time. One of the biggest busts.
Anyway.
But and some of those guys were also given up at the deadline. I think Sean Manaea was given up for Zobrist.
Oh, sure. Which I think you do.
Which
that
again,
too,
also, that was a great trade too. So I like what they did, and we'll see what happens this year. My expectations, I'm gonna keep nice and modest for 2025. But when it comes to 26 and 27, these are implications that the front office and the franchise and everyone wants to continue to compete so long as Bobby Witt Jr. is still on the team and Salvi is still,
performing,
able to put on a pair of cleats.
I think that's fair.
Yep.
All right. Cleveland. The latest, but also I really am kind of liking what they did with Bieber. But anyway, Dan, they didn't do much, but what they did, I do like.
So we may not talk about, we'll talk about trades, but we're probably going to talk about not trades and the cloud that sat over the Guardians deadline just as much, if not more. And that cloud was news that didn't break before our last episode yet, that Emmanuel Clase is now being investigated for the same type of gambling allegations that Luis Ortiz has been accused of. So the Guardians all-star closer, fifth in WAR on the team this year, is not going to be on the roster at minimum through August 31st as the MLB conducts its investigation. Additionally, there was a lot of rumor and chatter about Clase potentially being traded. The Guardians, I spoke about this on last week's episode, trading from a position of strength in their bullpen and trading their most prominent, well thought of piece in Class A for other stuff they could use, either for this year or the future. Well, that all went out the window when MLB put that report out on Monday. And not only could he not be traded, but he could potentially vanish into thin air, not just through August 31st, but until the end of time, for all we
Forever.
know.
Yeah.
To put it bluntly, how impactful was his departure on the organization's trade deadline? I couldn't tell you. I could certainly see how you come into the final week before the deadline with a plan, and then this news comes out, and now you have significantly less of a plan, or a big portion of your plan has been kind of blown up. You can also make an argument there that is this impactful? On the one end, all those things I just said are true. All-star, fifth most WAR on the team, position of strength on the team. Now that bullpen strength is maybe just adequate, yet to be seen. On the opposite side of things, when you really break it down to what a closer is, Class A is pitching the ninth inning of games you're winning. Can you find another guy who could pitch the ninth inning of games you're winning? Possibly.
Yeah.
You're an organization that's really good at finding pitching. So is it impactful? I could see it both ways.
Yeah.
Now, all that said, I think that ultimately changed the structure of the Guardians deadline. I'm just going to go from an order of importance here. The other person of prominence that there was chatter about this deadline was Stephen Kwan.
Yeah.
Stephen Kwan was not traded, but the trade deadline day was a bit of a roller coaster if you were following the news. He went from before Thursday, it's unlikely he'll be traded, to it's at one point during the day in a report that said it's increasingly likely that Stephen Kwan will be traded. And then we got to about the 4 or 5 o'clock hour, and it went back to it's not likely that Kwan will be traded. What appears to have happened there is the Guardians engaged with talks with the San Diego Padres about Kwan. Um, and San Diego offered Leo DeVries, who is the third best prospect in all of baseball, not in the Padres organization, but all of baseball. Chris Antonetti got that phone call and said, "We want more. It's not enough." And so the Padres then pivoted and offered DeVries to the Athletics and got Mason Miller instead.
Yeah.
Makes me wonder if maybe there was a framework for a deal for Class A at one point that no longer could happen. I'm purely speculating on that.
Because they did go
Maybe
after
it pivoted
reliever,
to
yeah.
well, we really like Kwan. Would you be interested in DeVries for Kwan? And the answer was no.
Yeah.
Purely speculating. A couple other points on Kwan real quick. He is a couple years of team control yet. He's an arbitration guy. At minimum, this was potentially a dress rehearsal for when he is dealt, potentially. Um, they at the very minimum, they got a good idea what his market is. And I don't, because he's so far from free agency, I don't anticipate his value is going to dip very much yet. So at minimum, they did a very nice fact-finding mission on him. And he could potentially be dealt this winter. But the thing I want to include here is the outpouring of positivity from the fan base when he appeared on the field on Friday. He got a standing ovation
Yep.
in his first at bat, and spoke glowingly. These guys are all going to speak positively about the organization and the fans, but he made a point of saying, "I hope I'm here long term," when he was interviewed post game. So I do actually feel slightly better about the potential for his staying with the org long term, not for anything he did, but suddenly there's the potential that um, between the trade of Shane Bieber and his money coming off the books and the potential that Emmanuel Clase's contract will no longer be a thing, that maybe the money for Stephen Kwan suddenly appeared. Who knows? I think that's yet to be seen. But I feel a little bit more optimistic about it than I did a few days
Well,
ago.
and what's weird is like up until like probably a week ago, I never considered that. I didn't realize the buzz there was about Quan being traded. Mentally, I feel like he's a guard. He's one of a guardian. He's going to be a guardian for a while. I thought he was more of an extension candidate for them than a trade
I
chip, and I was just more
It
like
feels like
really surprised.
Yeah, like he would take up the next Jose Ramirez in terms
Yeah.
of staple player on the team who's going to terrorize the rest of the division.
I'd love that to be the case. Um, he, my perception's always been that he isn't necessarily going to take a hometown discount. He wants his fair market value. I think finding what his fair market value is kind of hard because the type of player he is. There
Right.
aren't a lot of corner outfielder contact first Gold Glove caliber
Yeah.
guys to kind of compare him off of. You could kind of do it in aggregate looking at WAR, and
But don't
he's
you
about a
feel like
$20 million
that's
a year player. If you look at WAR, he's very comparable to like a Brandon Nimmo in terms of WAR.
And
If you just kind of
then it gets
aggregate,
into if you look at B war or F war because B war
yeah. And I was looking
overvalues
at F4 to be
defense
clear.
and yeah.
do
Yeah,
you I feel like that's actually like a benefit. Like that's why it's more likely for Cleveland to re-sign him is because he's not a typical left. He's not a typical
see,
slugging left fielder.
here's the thing about that. I thought the same thing about Josh Naylor as a kind of a bad body guy that other teams wouldn't want because he's big and kind of slow. And
Mm,
I thought, oh, the simple and kind of mean way of thinking of it is, oh, he's a flawed baseball player.
yep.
And that's the kind of guy the Guardians could maybe latch on to because the market wouldn't be as strong. But they
You go
traded Naylor, and
Yep.
I suspect they'll do the. I do think this was the first time in the window to trade Quan. It's kind of early, so the fact they
That's
didn't
fair.
makes complete sense. Like I said, they got a really good idea what his market is. But again, I'm a little more optimistic than I was a week ago that maybe he stays.
I mean, as a division rival, I'm like, get him out of my division. He's a menace. But as
I
a
can only imagine he's an incredibly frustrating player to play
yeah,
against.
Yes,
because
he's the
he gets
worst
on
player
base
to have up.
every time.
The
How?
worst player to have up in the eighth. Let's just say theoretically that the Twins and Guardians play a lot of close games, and Stephen Kwan is
Yeah,
always up in the eighth or ninth inning. Let's just say that's incredibly irritating.
It's always infield singles and little bloopers into shallow right field, and it's
finding Graham.
infuriating. But like, yeah, that aside, as a baseball fan, I hate the idea of he fits so well with what the Guardians team identity is, and
Yep.
they're not going to pay him. I hate that idea as like a baseball fan, if that makes sense. Like
Well,
as a baseball fan, I'm like he should stay there for life. As a division rival, I want him gone. Leave.
Well, presumably that Bieber money that they paid out this year was the Jimenez money. At least it was really the Seawald in Bieber money was the Jimenez money. They've proof of concept that they will reinvest it already. They did it with 1 year deals, but there's the potential there. There's the potential there. Speaking of, that brings us to Shane Bieber,
Yep.
who was actually dealt, and we didn't talk about him much on previous episodes because I just didn't think that there would be that much interest in a guy who hadn't thrown a ball on a major league mound in 15 months, coming back from Tommy John surgery. Turns out there is when he's a former Cy Young Award winner
Yeah.
and an ace. Um, so, and the haul for this is actually pretty good. You know, the Guardians made a choice. They decided that rather than have Bieber help for potential run here in the final 2 months, they're a 500 team. This thing I've been talking about, are they, aren't they? It, and I think they made decisions in a vacuum. They decided that the value they were getting back for Shane Bieber was worth it,
Yep.
and it shipped him to Toronto. Uh, and in return, they received now, like I was saying about prospect rankings, even different websites have different. If you believe, if Fangraphs is to believe, Cal Steven, the pitcher they received in return, is the 80th prospect in Fangraphs rankings,
Mm.
in their top 100.
This one is
MLB doesn't
pulled
rank this.
from. This is pulled from the press release of whatever article website I had that said it
Yeah,
was the number 5. So I think it's from
but to that
MLB's
point,
ranking.
depending on who you ask, you get a different answer. Uh, from the little bit of research I did on him, he has a great slider today. He has a potentially great changeup, and his estimated time of arrival in the majors is 2026, whether you ask Mr. Eric Longenhagen at Fangraphs or you ask the folks at MLB.com. So they both are consensus on that. He is considered a starting pitcher with a high floor. He's probably not going to be an ace, but he's going to be at least a 4, pretty much guaranteed. He could probably start today and not embarrass himself, but he
Sure.
needs a little bit of refinement. He pitched a heavy workload in college, 90 to 100 innings, so he's built up in a way that maybe some younger guys aren't. Uh, all this lends itself to this is a guy that isn't quite turnkey, but is really close. And if there's an organization that could find that little bit of refinement he needs, it's probably Cleveland. Um, he's shown command in the minors. That was one of the things that the folks at Fangraphs were glowing about. Was he was locating very well, had commanded both his slider, changeup, fastball, all of it. And so again, I think they got near as close to a sure thing out of a prospect as you can get, in the sense that that's a guy that can contribute pretty soon. He's going to contribute for 6 years as opposed to the 2 months you would have got with Bieber. And again, in a vacuum, I feel pretty good about that deal. The next is a smattering of other individuals that didn't get traded that are kind of next in order of importance. Carlos Santana is probably the most surprising. I thought he'd get dealt just if not only for so they could promote CJ Kafis and have a spot for CJ Kafis to play, somebody who's been knocking on the door at AAA for most of the year. Kafis had like an 890 OPS at Columbus. He was promoted yesterday anyway, by the way. Jonathan Rodriguez was sent down. I think there's going to be a little bit of figuring out where Kavis's at bats come from, but we're going to see him down the stretch. Anyway, that's a digression. Um, I thought Santana would get traded to Seattle. I thought that Cleveland would do him a solid, having been with the org for so long on 3 different occasions. And I know Santana is good friends with Julio Rodriguez. That was the other
Oh,
team he was considering going to this winter. And then Seattle made the trades they made, and they suddenly didn't need Carlos Santana anymore, it seems
right.
like. So I think partially, I think they're doing a solid to Carlos, and partially maybe they just couldn't find the value they were looking for. And so he will be on the roster the remainder of the way. Lane Thomas just never had a chance. That's both
Mm.
his season and his trade value. Hurt basically from the get go. Plantar fasciitis doesn't want to go away. Eric's very familiar with that from Korea.
Yeah.
But maybe we see him down the stretch. He's a free agent in the winter. Now, what I'm wondering is, did Lane Thomas have such a poor season that they might be able to bring him back on like some low level deal? I don't know. He's been a good major leaguer in the
Yep.
past, so I imagine he'll get paid. He just not as
Well,
much.
even
We'll see.
rewind to last year's trade deadline, he was a catch. Like he was a good
Yeah,
sign. He was a
yeah,
good
that
trade.
was a good trade for the Guardians. They gave up a couple prospects for
Yeah.
him, which when you look at it that way, man, is his value tanked and you got nothing out of that. And that's just bad luck.
Hmm.
Um, Jacob Junis, I thought for sure would be traded as well. I kind of think when your closer goes down and now you're kind of just okay, we need arms. Um, we were going to trade Junis, but you know what? We might need to hold on to him because Kate Smith just got promoted into the closer role. And I talk about the Guardians having an A team and a B team in terms of their bullpen. We have an open spot in the A team, and we need to figure out who's going to take that. It seems like Eric Sabrowski might be that guy. He pitched 2 really strong innings last night and has looked very good since his own rehab ended. But they needed arms. And so I think maybe the strategy with Junis changed just off of that. Um, he also is a free agent. So they need to fill his spot, Junis' spot in 26, but they need to get there first. And that leaves Paul Sewald, who is the opposite of Junis. I didn't think was going to get traded because he's been hurt for not the entire first half, but a good portion of it.
I wonder who would be
Um,
stupid enough to trade for him, especially since he's injured for the next month.
I'm curious to see whether the Guardians receive a player to be named later or cash. And it wouldn't surprise me if that determination comes down to if Sewald ends up playing for the Tigers. It'll be some sort of condition, like does he pitch 10
Right.
innings or something?
Yeah,
Um,
he was put on the 60-day IL pretty much right off the bat, and he's
Yeah.
not going to be available until September 10th.
Oh.
well, there
I
you go.
always
So-
assumed that deal was here's 5 prospects we don't care about. Pick one. If you don't want one, we'll send you cash.
It could be that too. It could be that too. But really the big thing here is it made me wonder what's the difference between Sewald and Junis, that a team wanted the hurt guy and not the guy that's readily available today. And at least from to the alternative, what made the Guardians want to trade Sewald as opposed to Junis? And on that end of things, money and availability seem to be the two things. Junis has thrown 45 innings and he's being paid $4 million this year. Seawald is thrown 15 in the third innings and is being paid $7 million. So the Guardians got more money off their books for a guy that can help them today. And so that was at least their end of the decision making. Ultimately, all these moves and non-moves cobbled together, and as I said on the open, it appears the guards made their decisions in a vacuum. They individually um, evaluated each of these players and the offers they received. And that's how you kind of get contradictory, like we're going to trade Bieber in like a sell move, but we're going to hold on to Carlos Santana. I just think that I don't know how much Clase's situation clouded that. It certainly could have. This may have been the plan all along. I don't
Mhm.
know, but it appears that in this kind of middle ground that they find themselves in, where yeah, we're 3.5 out of the wild card, but it's kind of our run differential hasn't been very good, and you're not sure how good we are, but we're only 3.5 out, and we have the weakest schedule the rest of the way. The decision that was made was we're just going to make decisions individually and not get ourselves cornered into an overall strategy of sell or buy or what have you.
Mhm.
I think it will be a very interesting offseason for the Cleveland Guardians.
It has the potential to be a very interesting, or it could be nothing. It could also just be nothing, which
I
has
think they have
happened
a
in
lot
the
of
past.
I think they have a lot of decisions to make, and if that decision is to do nothing, then that's also interesting.
Yes, agreed. And this is a perfect example. I only named two trades there, but I feel like there were decisions to be made or not made that were
Mhm.
fascinating along the way. Um, I only have 5 minutes before I have to get ready for a playoff softball game here. So can I talk about the Twins guard series real quick? And
Yeah,
then
let's go to that quick because they're
okay.
playing right now.
I'm
Yeah,
completely unaware of how today's game is going. I, for some reason, have
zero
been
zero
staring.
top one. That's all.
Okay. Just to get my stuff off here, game one, that looked like it was going to be an uneventful 2-0 win for the longest time.
Yeah, it did.
And then I believe it was in the seventh inning, it might have been the eighth. Hunter Gaddis fields a slow roller rolling down the third baseline, does a jump throw, Derek Jeter style, and spikes the ball in front of Carlos Santana at first base.
Yep.
My opinion is Santana needed to do more to keep that ball in front of him with the tying run on base, and he didn't. Gaddis also should have just stuck it in his back pocket in the first place. But
Right.
that tied the ball game. And from there, though, Cade Smith was phenomenal in the ninth and 10th. The Manfred man didn't score in the 10th because of Cade Smith, basically. Had 3 Ks in 2 innings. And then from there, the Guardians did what the Guardians did do against the Twins.
You're right.
Man on second in the 10th, bunt single by Quan. Uh, the Twins, Rocco did opt to intentionally walk Jose Ramirez, and it
Which
did
I
not
think
work
is the
out in his
second time he's done that this year
Yep.
Yeah, we
in
talked
that
about that
exact
a
spot.
couple months ago. I
Manzardo,
remember.
though, Kyle Manzardo, who's looked a lot better. He's using more of the field, to use a cliche, but also the
Yep.
truth. Uh, Base hit to center field wins the ball game. He's looked a lot better since the All Star break, so that's encouraging. And then game two, just like I said, to get my stuff off here. Um, Tanner Bybee's been susceptible to the long ball all season. He gave up
Yep.
another one. Matt Wallner demolished that
Yeah,
ball.
he did.
That was
It looked
that
a
was
lot more impressive than just 400 feet.
yes. No doubter.
Yep.
Bybee, lots of deep counts, lots of pitches. That's been him all season, unfortunately. Didn't make it out of the fifth as the Twins rallied in the fifth and uh, I believe took the lead. They were leading 4-2. Yeah, they were leading four to
Yes.
two because in the bottom of the fifth, Jose comes up and immediately reties it with a
Yep.
2-run home
Took
run.
it back.
And then interestingly, in the eighth tie game, Rocco decides to pitch to Jose in that situation in the eighth, and he singles, comes around to score on Bo Naylor's go ahead double.
Yep.
The Nailers strike again,
Yeah, they do.
and in that case, I guess it didn't matter. Jose would have been standing on first anyway if he would have walked him. Just
Right.
because his name has come up so much regarding the Twins, I was just curious. Coming into yesterday, Bo had a 903 OPS against the Twins this year. His his season OPS is very much not 903.
Oh, you don't say.
It probably starts with a 6, is my guess. So he's just killing the Twins. He's been good against the division in general.
I think the Guardians just draft guys who are like, yeah, they're going to be really good against the division, and just exclusively them.
And then in a repeat performance of the 10th inning the previous night, in the ninth, Edward Julian doubles and never gets off a second base.
Yeah.
He let off
Well,
the inning
also,
with a
he didn't
double.
hustle out. He thought it was a home run, so he didn't hustle out. It should have been a triple, in which case you might have had a sac fly or something like that. So, like, he didn't do himself any favors. But yeah,
Well, and to my point about James Outman earlier, Deshaun Kersey gets 3 opportunities to lay a bunt down, cannot get it done.
yes. Which
Shouldn't
should
James
tell you
Outman be
something.
in the majors taking those at bats right now?
He had 2 strikes and still tried bunting with 2
Yep.
strikes twice and then tipped out. So,
And that
I
was
mean,
the
that should
ball
tell
game.
you how good of a play. I mean, and I still like Kersey, but he's clearly just not a major league player.
And so Julian doesn't get off a second, and Hunter Gaddis books his first professional
Yeah.
save at any level
So,
in yesterday's ballgame.
before you, I'll talk about the Twins, but before you go, did you get the feeling like? So I'm taking this series as like, what is this team? This seems like a bargain bin version of the Cleveland Guardians. They're athletic. They're going to slap the ball around. They're just not that good.
I see that. I see
They'll
that to a
control the
point.
strike zone. Again, it's 2
I
games. But
skipped one bullet point from game one. The offense looked lethargic for Minnesota in game one. Now you
yes,
guys looked a little bit better yesterday. You got some, like I said, Wallner destroyed that ball. You had a rally in the fifth, but and interestingly, left-handed hitters on Friday night were 0 for the game. I think they're like 0 for 16 with 1 walk.
yep,
Um, it's a poorly thought out I'll say that it's a poorly thought out version of the Guardians.
yes, and that was,
That's
I
what it is.
mean, that was my. I
You're
think they're
athletic.
going to try to control the zone. I just don't think they're going to make that much contact, and they're just going to be like, this looks like a bottom 5 offense in baseball. This does
Is
not look
Buxton hurt
impressive.
long term again?
No, it's just carnage. It's like something with like his rib cartilage. Something he crashed into a wall,
Okay.
and
Of
like
course he did.
it's a minimum. Yeah, that's what he does.
Check that off your bingo card checklist for
We can
2020.
check
The
that
lineup
off every year.
just
But
just
it
off of that,
sounds
the
like a
lineup will look a
mistake.
lot better with Buxton in it. It will. But yeah, I think this is a bit of a I think that's the right way to say it, a poorly thought out Guardians offense.
Yeah.
It's athletic. I don't know how are your do you have a bunch of guys that aren't going to strike out a lot?
I think that's what they're going for because like Austin Martin led off the first
Yeah.
game, and his major league stats have been less than impressive. Another top failed 100 guy who's probably like him and Julian. This is your chance. Like this is your
Yes.
last chance. So if you can't make this stick, you're probably done type thing. And that's where and there's value to that. And I'll talk about that in a bit. But like
It,
that's the value of the Twin season is who's a big league player.
yeah. I think you're right. And for guys like Julian and Martin, this is their last chance. But for somebody like Brooks Lee, this may not be the last chance, but hey, this is your chance.
Yes.
Like we
You're
traded
a
a shortstop. That,
you're a starting
you know,
shortstop. You're
show
not
us what you
Carlos
got,
Correa.
Brooks Lee. You know,
Yeah.
um, there are a number of opportunities of that ilk for a bunch of guys. So, there is opportunity there, but
Yeah.
it's maybe
There's
not the
just
level of prospects you're
and then
hoping
I have
for.
no idea what they're gonna do with the bullpen, which makes me think
Oh,
they're gonna be a lot of
HL
piggybacking.
threw like 50 pitches out of the bullpen yesterday.
Yeah.
I don't know what that was about, uh, but that's the decision that Rocco made to go with to ride him
Yeah.
for that length of time.
Well, he only got he just got 33% of his roster changed. Might not be familiar
He's
with
got
the
to figure it
entire
out. He's
bullpen.
not an enviable position either.
I made the joke. Like Rocco was probably handing out jerseys like it was the first day of Little League. Like it just all right, who's a size XL? Okay, Alex Rodin, here you are. Here's your jersey. Like
The way my soccer teams always did it is that the numbers 2 through whatever, the 2 was
Yes.
always the smallest and the biggest number
Yep.
was always the biggest
Yep.
size.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to figure out which size fits you, but also if there's finagle it in terms of order of sizes. So sometimes I ended up with shirts like 3 sizes too big because it just didn't work.
Of course.
One last thing I want to mention before and then I really do have to drop. I alluded to the Class A investigation. I just one more thought on that. It was reported by Zach Meisel at the Athletic Friday that Class A and Ortiz's lockers have been cleared out of the clubhouse.
Yep.
This team is moving on.
Yep.
If they happen to get either of those individuals or both of those individuals back, fantastic. But this team is turning the page. They're moving on from that situation as best they can. And the nice thing, to end with a cliche, the nice thing about baseball is there's a game today.
Yep.
And so we can get out of our feelings and quit worrying about what might happen with what. There's a ball game today. We're going to go try to win that ball game. And we're going to do this another 50 times over the next 2 months. So
Let's go
with
beat
that,
up on the St. Paul Saints.
Yes.
here's to that.
And I
With
will,
that,
like, while you're jumping off too,
Yeah.
I don't think that's a coincidence. I don't think Cleveland just decided to clear out their lockers for field. I think
It's over.
I think the commissioner basically said they're done. I think that's the news.
I wouldn't. Yeah, he's like, I wouldn't hold out any hope of them being
Yeah.
cleared.
It's
I
capital
don't think you
capital
can
O
expect
over.
for them to be back. Yeah, at this point, it doesn't look good. So,
Which for Class A, man, what
What a
but just
moron.
psychologically, I don't think it was doing anybody good.
Right.
Regardless, to have those open lockers just sitting there is not.
Right.
You need to turn the page as a team and as a work, and they did.
Yeah. So, all right.
Y'all
Well,
have
go on
fun.
softball.
I'll catch you guys later.
Bring
Yeah.
home a ring. All that good stuff.
Play like Bo
Let you know how it
Naylor
goes.
against the Twins.
Oh God, yes. Do it.
See
Even
you
better
guys.
yet, play like Josh Naylor. All right. So I'll talk about the White Sox deadline for very briefly, and then we can just move on to the schedule and predictions because I don't know any other point I can talk about the Twins during that guard. I don't know what this team's identity is other than bargain bin Cleveland, and I don't know what's going on in the bullpen. We'll talk about that next week. The White Sox, though, I feel like the bigger news, I think they got a nice haul for Adrian Hauser, who was just a random pickup, and they got 3 prospects, 2 near the majors. I think that's completely fine. I think they did well in there. Austin Slater, journeyman left fielder. They got a high A pitching, and then Tristan Gray, whatever, was a reliever. Can someone explain to me, and I understand the reasons, Luis Robert should have been traded. And I don't understand their confidence that he's going to bounce back. Because what essentially they did, he has a team option for next year. That's $20 million. They didn't trade him because they weren't getting offers that they liked. So they didn't trade him.
They're betting that he's going to be worth $20 million next year, and they'll be able to trade him and have it not be a salary dump, I guess.
Which I get, you're in
think
Chicago,
from
so $20 million should not sway, especially when their payroll's this low. $20 million should not sway you from, picking up an option if you want a wild card. But it just, other than the last month, what has he shown in the last 2 years that he's a good player? I don't understand that.
That's what I was going to mention. Is I talked about this maybe last week or 2 weeks ago. We're talking about these players for the White Sox like they're future Hall of Famers. And Luis Robert, yeah, he's had some good years. He's has some potential. He has produced in the last 2 years combined 2.3 WAR.
Yep.
So sure, but also if the results aren't there, a team's not going to give up a lot for a guy who needs a change of scenery.
Right.
Are they going to just not take up that option and let him go for nothing? I don't get it.
That's what's baffling to me. It's probably worth just letting him walk at this point. I don't.
Because I feel like if you take up the $20 million option and he plays the same quality as he did this year, you're
right.
Now you're definitely not going to get anything for him.
Right. And I think he has an option after that. It just seems like a weird. why you're holding on to him, because you're holding on to he's 27. I think he's going to be 28 years old. I understand you have a Jose Bautista once every 20 years that holds off until they're 30 and goes off. I don't think Luis Robert is that player. I think he was a burn bright and not even fade away. It's burn bright and he was just burnt out after 3 years.
Yeah.
It's very interesting to me. I don't get it, but I don't get a lot of what the White Sox did. With that said, I think they had a better trade deadline than the Twins.
The bar for that is 5 feet underground. It's not a very high bar to be better than what
Yes.
the Twins did at the deadline. I found it interesting that they didn't trade either Savali or Tyler Alexander, for what it's worth. I mean,
Yeah, that is weird.
I guess I could get not trading Savali because I guess if no one wanted him because they're going to want to move him to the bullpen, and he said very clearly, "I will not go to the bullpen." So I get not much interest in him. But Alexander, I mean, he's been around a bit. I mean, he can. Everyone needs more pitchers.
Right.
Why not?
I guess my answer, and maybe I've said this on the show before, but like for Aaron Savali to say I don't want to go to the bullpen, well, maybe you need to be a good major league pitcher before I start giving into your demand. So if I'm going to trade you away to a team, probably just go to the bullpen and be happy about it that you have a major league career, because I don't think he's going to have one for much longer.
Yeah, he's on an $8 million deal for this year right now. I'm trying to look at how he's done. Well, he's not done really well lately. His past two starts have both been no runs. They've been 4, 5, 2.
Yeah.
So he's not been particularly great lately. I mean, yeah, he's not a good starter. That's why the Brewers wanted to move him to the bullpen.
Yep.
So I get not trading him if no one wanted him because they wanted him to be bullpen.
Right.
And he wasn't going to take that. But Alexander, I think, could have been traded. But who knows? Maybe the White Sox will do so. I don't know. I can't make that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, who knows? Like I'll until the White Sox. Well, like I say this, I think the White Sox between yesterday, but the first day after the trade line and the rest of the year, I think it's going to be real close who has a better record between the White Sox and the Twins. So maybe I shouldn't be talking a lot of crap about the White Sox. The Twins are about to join them, but
the Twins are closer in the standings to the White Sox than they are to the Tigers.
This is true, but I think I have yes. This is almost literally not the same team as they were a week ago.
Yes, almost literally, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, the now it's prospect watching and it's seeing double, which is fine. I can still get value out of doing that, and it's still fun. But I just the expectations for this team went from possible playoff, like 2 weeks ago, I said, okay, you go on a nice run after the Rockies series, to now don't be on pace for 100 loss season for the next 2 months. Like that's all I ask. So. Any other closing thoughts on the deadline, or just talk about the schedule?
No, I think
I want to do.
Stuff. Oh, go ahead.
I promised some MJ Melendez content.
Yep.
So I'll do that real quick. He has been sent down once again to AAA Omaha, and so I'll light a candle for MJ Melendez as I did earlier this year. Royals had some injuries. Had to give another chance to MJ. Called him up. He came back to the Royals, and I'll talk about some of his numbers in his return to the team. He played in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games. Coming back to the team, in those 7 games, he was 1 for 15. His one hit was a double. It was a little blooper to center field that got dropped, and he was able to scramble to second base on the play. His final stats for the year are he had played in 23 games for the Royals. He had 60 at-bats, 5 hits, 2 doubles, 1 home run, 1 RBI, 3 walks and 23 strikeouts. And he had a .083 batting average.
Nice.
So, yeah, he got sent back down because obviously the Royals made those moves to acquire some outfielders. So, I think we can safely say that we will not be seeing him in a Royals uniform anymore. So,
Will he be with Jose Miranda in Korea next year also?
I wouldn't be surprised if he plays overseas, and I do feel bad for him because he does genuinely seem like a nice guy who has earned the derision of me and Royals fans writ large. But I don't know if you heard any of those stats that I listed off, Eric, but he was 1 for 15 in his return.
Which is not only that's slightly worse than his
Yeah.
actual beginning of the season.
And the one was a dropped ball.
Take him while you can.
So, yeah. Goodbye. See you later, MJ.
Bye, MJ.
Good luck.
No.
While you have that candle, I would like to mention for if Parker Meadows was injured and he's got a hammy thing, but for a brief 24 hours, Ryan Kreidler was on the Detroit Tigers Major League
Forgot
roster.
about Ryan Kreidler.
He came up, was there for one game, made no appearances, thank the Lord, and then was sent back down to AAA. So he spent slightly over 24 hours on the Major League roster and then was sent down. I don't know why we brought him up, but we did. And then he did nothing. And then he went back to Toledo. Thank you for being the 26th man. I'd never want to see you on this team again.
So
Please
harsh.
stop.
I hope 2 years from now he's now going to be like a color guy for the Tigers for the next, just to really rub that in. That would be
apparently
great.
he's everyone in the clubhouse loves him, because apparently he's a really good guy, and he's been doing this thing where he comes up for whenever someone's injured for the past 2 or 3 years or whatever. He's just not a major league player. Well, I don't know why we keep bringing him up. We have other players. I don't know how he survived this long.
Probably just because he's the nicest dude in the world and he's not a pain in the butt. So
Probably. He's probably a very nice man.
All right, let's
I had
talk
to bring
about
his brief reappearance up.
the Twins have a roster full suddenly of guys on that same caliber. So I'll see what candle we're lighting next week for them.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Schedule Tigers. I mean, I don't want to say you have a pushover for the next
I see 12 straight wins after
I was about to say,
losing
this
the
is
Phillies.
time to get fat off wins here. They go against the Twins, the Angels, the White Sox, and then the Twins again. The Guardians finish up against Minnesota. They're actually losing 4-2, but Jose Urena is on the mound for Minnesota, so we'll see if that holds up. Then they go to New York. Then they have the White Sox, the Marlins, and then the Braves.
Could we just shout out Pokemon Go Day? Because I wish Dan was here because I want to know what
Oh my
Pokemon
God.
Go night. Yes, what are they doing?
Yeah.
Because I know they're
Wow.
doing Pokemon Go is doing some things with Major League stadiums for some of them, but
Well, that's
I
fair.
want to know what that theme night is.
We'll have to Google it.
Yeah.
Dan's too busy winning the softball playoffs to care right now. But, the Royals, Boston, Minnesota, the Nationals, and then the White Sox, the Twins, Detroit, Kansas City, New York Yankees, and Detroit, the White Sox, Seattle, Kansas, or Cleveland for 3, Detroit for 3, Kansas City. So
See, they have a Pokemon Go night too.
I think
Yeah.
that's. Do they really?
Yeah.
Oh, it is
they-
two
On
different nights,
the
isn't it?
11th. Wow.
Yeah.
Huh.
That must just be a thing. Good for
I don't
them.
think the Tigers have one. I would definitely know about it.
I'm going to guess whoever the maker is of Pokemon Go just said, yeah, we'll give you this rare character this one day just so they can get people in the stadium. But
Yeah. It's weird.
all right.
Anyway.
So we have 3, and we were not smart enough to get his thoughts on who he's going to predict. So we're going to let him fill that in later. So, but we have 3 series to predict. Let me just pull up here. All right. We're going to start off with Twins and Tigers. Lee.
I'm going to go with the easy Tigers on this one.
Yeah.
I would like to predict a stat line for Chris Paddock.
Sure.
He is going to go 7 innings, 1 earned run, 8 strikeouts.
I'll agree with those first two. I don't think he's had 8 strikeouts anywhere near. So good if it could happen, and I guess this team doesn't make a lot of contact from what I can see. We'll see. I will agree with the 1-run ball because that's just baseball. The 8 strikeout seems high. But what do I know?
That's
Actually,
very just banking on the Twins lineup is full of guys who can't hit.
You're not wrong. I believe, I think he will shut them out because that's, that would just be the narrative. But whatever, it is what it is. Sam, Twins, Tigers.
I'll take the Tigers. I think this is a pretty. Tigers need to get right, and Twins don't have a team. So
no, they have. It's like in Major League 2 where they just all get demoted, and it's Detroit. I'm not even going to pretend that this team is anything other than not competitive, despite what the front office says for the next 2 months. I'm going to guess Dan would go Detroit. I'll leave that blank, but that's going to be my easy prediction for him. Lee, after that, Guardians, White Sox.
I'm going to go with the White Sox on this one. I think they got something in them after the All-Star break.
Yeah.
I think
they've been playing really well. Not really well, but to their standards. They're playing at least a major league.
They're playing a non-embarrassing team. They're just a bad team, but they're not embarrassing.
Sam?
As much as I'd like to see Cleveland lose some games, I think they are going to continue to be the Cleveland team who wins games that in annoying fashion. So I will. I'll go with Cleveland for that series.
Cleveland.
Yes. Also, the Royals just had the strangest rundown I've ever seen.
Oh. It
was you'll have to take a look at it if the replay gets posted, but it was very bizarre.
Oh. I like Lee's thinking because I do think Chicago. Well, I don't know. I think I'm going to go with Cleveland, but I really Chicago has looked a lot better since the All-Star break, and it's only 10 games, whatever. But it's as good as they've looked in a number of years. All right. Lastly, Royals, Twins, Lee.
I'm going to go with Royals. I have zero confidence that the Twins can do anything functionally right now.
Yep. I think that's about right. Sam.
I'm gonna go with the Royals simply because if the Royals lose a series to the Twins, it's game over, man. So
it's just embarrassing at that point.
Yeah, so
under the I don't think the Twins are gonna go 0-9. I think they're going to win a series in the next 2 weeks. I'm going to pick Minnesota, but it's not by anything other than I don't think they're the worst team in history of baseball. I just think they're probably on pace to be a 90-loss team, and those teams will win a series once in a while. So on that,
Oren isn't here. We need some representative of bad baseball team to dunk on a little bit.
Exactly. And that's they've put themselves in that position. So those are our predictions. We'll see what Dan has. I'm going to assume he's going to go with the obvious picks there, which would be Detroit, Cleveland, and Kansas City. But we'll see. So once in a while he goes off the beaten path, and he does actually have the most amount of predictions right for this year. So all right. We're on the 2-hour mark. We're always around the 2-hour mark. Closing thoughts.
I think I covered everything I wanted in a lot of words.
Yeah.
I gotta run in a couple minutes, so I'm not gonna add anything else.
So, the Twins, they took a major step back, but according to the front office, they're ready to compete. And we'll check back in every week and to see if that happened or not. Color me skeptical, but all right. Thank you, everyone. We'll talk to you next time.